play smart. Box smart. Winners play smart.
Did you know that due to the very nature of the game of rugby, most injuries occur in the tackle? When multiple bodies go at each other at high speed and collide in a physical contest over possession of the ball and territorial domination for 50 to 80 minutes, someone, somewhere in the game is bound to get hurt along the way. In an Australian Super Rugby study, 76% of all injuries were either due to tackling, carrying the ball into contact, or through players colliding with each other. Another South African Super Rugby study found tackling 26% and being tackled 23% as the most common mechanisms of injury. Historically, the scientific literature, depending on where you are in the world, are split between the ball carrier and the tackler roles, as to which player in a tackle is more at risk. To date, all of our South African data in recent times has pointed to the tackler role being more at risk of injury, whether we look at concussions, serious or catastrophic head, neck or spine injuries, or whether we simply delve into general tackle-related injury data. In a scientific paper on SA Rugby National Youth Weeks, 55% of tackle-related time loss injuries were to the tackler and 45% were to the ball carrier. Time loss injuries are where players end up missing either training or matches as a result of their injuries. This paper also showed that there was a higher chance of tackle injuries occurring in under 13 players as opposed to under 18 players. This finding is possibly due to younger players being less proficient or less skilled in tackling. It has also been demonstrated that good tackle technique develops over time and with more exposure to rugby.
The association between poor technique and injury is well supported by some of our other research findings on concussion, which showed that players' tackle techniques were notably worse in those tackles where they were concussed than in those tackles where they were not. A similar pattern was shown when analyzing front-on and side-on and from behind tackle injuries. Non-injury tackles scored 14% and 22% better, respectively, in tackle technique proficiency ratings than injury-causing tackles. Also, of those tackles that were injury-free, 72% were successfully completed tackles, and of those tackles where injuries occurred, only 31% were successfully completed. This yet again supports that safe tackle technique is effective tackle technique. When it comes to tackling, our catastrophic head, neck, and spine injuries come from two main sources. One, tackling the ball carrier front on, which is 65%, and two, tackling from the side, 35%. About 54%, that's more than half of catastrophic injuries from front-on tackles, and 57% from the side-on tackles end up having permanent injury outcomes. The difference, though, is that front-on tackle injuries occur a lot more often than side-on tackle injuries. Similar findings in our general tackle injury research showed that the majority of injuries to the tackler, 42%, were from front-on tackles.
In those playing positions, such as the loosehead props, hookers, blind side flankers, and centers, who are more involved in the direct physical and confrontational aspects of the game. Tackling was the greatest contributor to general neck or cervical injuries, and also to shoulder injuries. And the severity of these injuries usually ended up removing these players from the game for longer. Even though the tackle has frequently been targeted by many international unions as part of their injury prevention strategy, most have not shown noticeable catastrophic injury reductions resulting from this phase of play. Albeit that Box Smart is a relatively young program, there are, however, some positive results filtering through, albeit that the total number of injuries from tackles have not yet necessarily come down. In club rugby, where most of the serious head, neck, and spine injuries happen, the proportion of permanent tackle-related injuries has come down from 96% between 2008 and 2011 to 38% between 2012 and 2015. which shows positive signs of a reduced average injury severity. There are still, nonetheless, far too many tackle-related injuries that could potentially be avoided, and this requires the collective effort of all of rugby's stakeholders.